Welcome to crypto. You want to know how to 100x your investment, therefore turning, let's just say, $1,000 into 100,000. Well, you're in the right place because don't worry, crypto definitely allows for that crazy sort of stuff to happen. And in this video, I am literally going to give you all you actually need to know to make a 100x in crypto. This video is not going to be your typical buy this coin, buy that coin, do this and do that. Look, if you're watching this video, there's a high chance that you're someone who doesn't want to do the hard work. You're someone who doesn't want to put in the hours and lots of time and resources into looking at cryptocurrencies and finding out which one's the best. And ultimately, the thing I typically say is, in crypto especially, the more you know, the less you actually know, right? The more you learn, the less you know. And it's crazy because you start digging down rabbit holes and you think to yourself, oh my God, this is only one tiny sector of this whole entire industry. How am I supposed to find the time to learn the technology? How am I supposed to find the time to learn the tokenomics, vesting, distribution, team members, who's the good investors, who isn't the good investors? So I have made this video specifically for those types of people, for you, and also for a reference point for me as to what to actually look for. This is what I can do in about an hour. So this takes me about an hour, maybe two max. However, for you, once you get a bit more proficient at it, should take you 2 to 3 hours, which means you can vet a project in 2 to 3 hours, know if it's good or not, and then go and apply the typical tactics I use and teach you guys, and I'm going to show you in this video, to learn how to sell for the most amount of profits, extract the most amount of value from your projects you're investing in, okay? So again, this isn't some, let's get rich quick scheme video where we're going to tell you how to buy, or I'm going to show you how to buy like meme coins, or I'm going to show you like 100x microcap projects. Anyone can tell you that crap. And chances are you're probably going to believe them too. Let's just face the facts. Most people in crypto don't think for themselves. They let others say, oh, this is a good project, and just buy whatever they say. And I know for one, because when I first got into crypto, I was that person, and ultimately I've lost tens of thousands of dollars. And if you're someone who hasn't, trust me when I say you will learn the hard way. So it's important you learn this again. It's very simple. You don't have to get into the deep nitty-gritty side of this. Just take the time, listen to it, and apply it yourself. If you want to learn how to actually apply it, well, don't worry, because in my videos, I go ahead and do this for you. So the infographic you can see here is actually something I created for my Emerald tier and also my Gem Hunters tier over on Patreon. You guys should take a look at that if you do want the most amount of value. And I finally realized that, look, most people are asking me questions about this. Most people don't get this and they need a visual on this. So I decided, look, I better release it. Let's just talk more about it. And ultimately, it will help 99% of you, okay? So some of the most basic things we can do to begin with is understand percentages. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. You guys can get the gist of it. But essentially, it's a very big misconception in crypto that when you go down that percentage, you typically just have to go up the same percentage. It's very, very wrong. So take this typical chart here, right? The dollar is obviously equilibrium. It's the middle. It's just even. If we go down 25 cents, we go down 25%. But to go up, we need to go up 33%. And likewise, we can just trickle all the way down to, let's just say we go from $1 down to 10 cents, a 90% drop, easy maths. But going back up, we have to multiply 10 cents by 9, aka 900%, for it to go back up to $1. So you can see how people get confused when a project's down 90% or down 20% for the day. That's okay, that's all right. No, you really are underwater, possibly double, triple, quadruple what you actually think you are. So always remember that, okay? So demand then has to increase by X amount to get back up to where it was before. Now, this is a really good thought exercise, and I'm really happy I made it, okay? So this is two people, right? Person A and person B, okay? So person A, as you can see in the first example here, bought in at 50 cents, which is this red line here, and person B bought in at 25 cents, down the very, very bottom. So a simple change in price that has meant person B is 2x more the overall profits than person A. Proof that every cent counts, and it's always exponential. So what do I mean? Well, as you can see here, this is a 25 cent level mark, right? And this is 50 cents up here. Well, person A bought 1,000 tokens at the 50 cent mark, and person B bought 1,000 tokens at 25 cents. This simple price move, and don't get me wrong, it definitely is even more significant like that in real life. Well, look at this. This person here got a 4x when it went up to $2 at the very, very top. Well, in this case, the person got 8x by simply waiting that little bit more. Now, this obviously can't be applied to everything, and This is part of timing the bottom issue, but we're going to get into the full example in just a second. But you can see how every single cent counts. a literal 2x from the top of the person A's. That's incredible. And as I said, it gets exponential as you go down every single cent from there, as you go up in price as well, right? Now, example 2. So we're looking at this line and this line. Now, this is an example of why dollar cost averaging is critical, okay? Person A tried to essentially catch a falling knife. They bought in here 500 tokens at 50 cents, down here rather, and they got FOMO'd in at $1 again. The price was going up, the lizard brain kicked in, and they went, oh my God, I want to buy some more tokens, right? Because it's running up. They didn't factor in, so maybe we should wait off a little bit longer and, buy if it ever dips again. So they actually dollar cost in at an average of whatever that is, like 75 cents, right? And they got overall selling at the $1.75 price point, they made about a 2.3x, 233%. Well, we got a person B. And person B took a different approach. They said, I'm going to dollar cost average every time this project goes down X amount of price. Now, obviously, this is pretty simple. It's a diagonal line, but this could look up, down, up, down, up, down. The price moves. But this person said, I'm only going to be buying when it goes down. And ultimately, they did smaller DCAs. Instead of buying 500 each time, they just bought 250 all the way down. And ultimately, their average buying price was 0.625 cents, so less. And they sold at the exact same level, but they profited 2.8x. And when you're talking about possibly buying in $10,000 overall, right, that's a significant amount. That could be talking about $1,000 or $2,000 here, guys. It all adds up. This is what I've been saying. Now, the last person, example 3, rather. Person A tried to ladder sell, however, fell victim to FOMO, right? So they decided to sell most of their tokens at 2 points. So they bought all their tokens at the same price this person did. But they decided, to sell their tokens majority at $1.25 and then went, oh my God, we're going to hit the top. I might just sell all my tokens up here, $1.75. Well, they got a 6x, right? Average sell at $1.50. Well, this person here, ideally, again, you want to incorporate both DCA down and ladder sell up, which is what I teach in my videos. Again, in increments, 250, 250, 250, 250, just ladder sold as you are supposed to. And they averaged 650% because their average dollar cost average out ladder sell was more at buying at the same level. So you can see this is a very good thought exercise. And when you apply both this on person B, DCAing down and ladder selling up, again, it's what I teach, ultimately, you are going to extract the most amount of profits. These things add up. Okay, so this is what I try to tell people. And it's very important when you look at profits and what you can expect from a potential investment. You're not going to want to invest in Hedera if you're looking for 100x gains at a minimum, okay? So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about now. I will have to skim over this very, very fast because we can get very technical with this. But again, this is something I talk about with my hidden gem blueprint guys over on Patreon, right? And I also have my Emerald tier, which is the layer 1 flywheel created by Anderson Horowitz. And essentially, this should, as I said, take you 2 to 3 hours max. Once you get somewhat proficient in this, and this is all you have to do, guys. You don't have to get into any more technical details than this. So, essentially, this flywheel depicts the natural progression of a crypto business. Right from the founders and core team being created, established, and then therefore creating the meme, which is the protocol, the idea, and the actual infrastructure, or potentially like the idea of the protocol, moving to then getting investors, right? Creating capital, which creates token value, moving right through to the end users, and then it cycles all the way through in perpetuity because you'll have roadmap events and so on and so forth that the team does have to consistently update, okay? So, again, I'm not going to completely go through this. Anyone on my Patreon will have access to this because I'll upload it over to there for you guys to see it in better detail and download this. But essentially, the founders and core team, this is some of the things you have to look at, right? So you have to dive into at least the top 4 team members. Have they been suspected of any criminal offenses? Have they been involved in previously successful projects? This is very important, both Web 2 and Web 3. Are they an already established reputable individual? Okay, this is important because if they are, they might have some sway with investors and also the community and also just building a better project. Have they worked in the same industry before? Even more importantly, the same role. So if they're the CEO, have they held previous CEO or co-founder or founder positions at previous companies, Web 2 or Web 3? Ideally Web 3, they know how the business model works. And a project I recently reviewed called Nillion is a prime example of why a fantastic team in Web 3 specific roles is going to play off in the long run, okay? Now, are they promising future returns future returns or guarantees? If they're trying to sell you their token to buy it, that's a very big warning sign. No founder is telling you or should be telling you to buy their token unless it truly is a utility token. And even then, they know what they're doing. So be very, very careful. That's a big red flag. You should also relate the quality of the team to the reliability of the roadmap events that will be completed on time as they are projected, right? So, if they're like, we're going to, have the mainnet out in Q3 of, 2024, and they're a horrible team that has a track history of being very slow to release things, they're choppy, they're not very good on socials and stuff like that. Well, guys, these things tend to be very small red flags. They always add up, and chances are that mainnet might never come out, okay? Next, the meme and the protocol, right? So this is the team and the core team of founders creating the vision. They have created, again, the Think logo. And we have to at least assess the project on a conceptual level. Now, most of you aren't going to be crypto experts by any stretch of the imagination. You're not going to know the mid or high level understandings of projects. So you have to know it conceptually. Right? Do you understand what makes them work? Okay. Could you explain this to friends or family members without sounding like you're making up half the stuff? I used to be like that guy. I used to talk to people about Bitcoin and think I know it, but when I actually talk to people, I'm impressed. They will ask me questions, and I used to and ah. And that was like, okay, that made me realize I need to know more about Bitcoin, because if I'm putting my money in this, as Warren Buffett once said, do never invest in something you don't understand. That's a big wake-up call, guys. Do you understand what the point of difference or USP on that project is? And you will understand this from the conceptual understanding of the project. From here, from the idea of the protocol, you can find the meme, right? What is the true USP, aka the meme, right? Once you understand what the project is, typically we're a layer 1, interoperable network, EVM compatible, WebAssembly, we have instant finality, whatever else, what buzzwords they want to throw in there. That's all above the shoulders mustard shit, as Jordan Belfort once said. So this stuff we hear all the time. And this is not the same just for layer 1s. This is the same for any project. So if they're saying stuff that is almost the market standard, I call my WIIIE WebAssembly compatible, right? WebAssembly state machine, instant finality, interoperable, and infinite TPS or scalability, and also EVM, right? The we method. This is what I created, and I think it's pretty typical on most projects nowadays. They typically have all of those things or one of those things. So they need to be, if all that aside, what does it boil down to? And that's like the meme or the thing that will propagate the message, that wow factor to people. If you go tell your friends about the project and you list all of what it does, what is that one thing that you'll land on that they go, holy crap, really? That's what you're looking for, right? Over here, the investors, right? Who are the investors? We want names here. Are they reliable? Ideally, we're looking for cross-industry companies, or otherwise ones that are quality investors and also have big venture rounds, local venture rounds, like equity building rounds, as in people like you and I have invested in, let's just say it's Pantera, for Pantera to invest in projects, right? That's what I'm talking about, equity rounds, right? Venture rounds. And if they're crypto-only investors, they can be quite unpredictable and erratic, as we've seen with the recent events that have unfolded. Many venture capital funds native to crypto only are quite erratic. People that they think that they know what they're talking about. These revolutionary people don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to run venture capital funds, right? So ensure you understand what percentage the investors have of the TGE or initial distribution of the equity, right? And work at the valuation. Very simple. You work if they're given 25% and they had $100 million, well, we simply just multiply 100 by 4, and that's the valuation, right, of the company, right? $400 million. Now, if it's significantly underneath that, well, that's quite good, because you pretty much know off the bat that the investors are underwater, okay, and that they aren't going to want to most likely sell until at least a 2 or 3x up, at least. And that's bad investors. Good investors will typically wait longer. That's a good sign. Also, if it's a lot higher, well, that can also be a bad thing, because then you know that they want to take investment profits out rather, which is why it's important you assess the vesting schedule just to ensure there's no large cliffs. Now, large cliffs don't always mean, like if there's a large unlock, doesn't mean they're going to sell their tokens. Maybe if they're in lots of profit, but people always assume there's going to be large sell-offs when these tokens unlock. That's fallacy, right? That's not true. Only if they want to sell their tokens. And you can prepare for a potential dump, right? Especially, again, if they're new venture capital funds, if they're crypto-based, not all of them, and bad VCs in general, right? They don't have this reliability. If they're cross-industry, that's optimal. And if they've got large venture rounds themselves, millions or billions of dollars, perfect. Miners and validators, right? Once we've created some token value, once we know the valuation of the company and we can see how much of the tokens we're giving away at what price, we can begin to look at, okay, now the next step is creating miners and validators. Now, what we do at this stage is look if the network has a sufficient number of miners and or validators for its decentralized promise. We are a fully decentralized network. Okay, you have 10 nodes. Really? Check the roadmap. There's nothing on the roadmap to say we're going to open the network up, be more permissionless public. Warning sign, that's all you have to do here, guys, right? Assess the block explorer to see how many nodes there might be online or active, because it's a difference between how many nodes are validating or active, right, or mining, and how many are in a pool waiting to come on, because there might be 1,000 waiting to come on, but capped at 100. That's also a good thing, because there is obviously a process to be fully permissionless and public. It's here where you can also check to see if there are really as many transactions being processed as they claim. One thing I found with I'm going to call them out, called 𝗡cie𝗿𝗡𝗡, is that they were claiming all these high TPS numbers, but there was like one transaction happening every like 1 hour, 2 hours. And you can get a really good glimpse into the project at that point. Why isn't there any transactions happening? Now, once we've created platform functionality, right, we've now got the investors, there's token value. Since there's token value, the miners and validators are now fighting for rewards. They have tokens they can acquire that are actually worth something to the open market, right? Well, we can begin looking at probably one of the most important parts, which is why I've circled it in red, i.e. the most important again, because this is pretty much what is going to be used by the end users providing utility. Now, don't get me wrong, projects can skip this. They can skip the ecosystem and move straight over to the end users and look at, progressing the network. Sometimes that's okay. But if this isn't addressed in a timely manner, I'm talking within a few years of mainnet, you will lead to a ghost chain, which has horrible stats. You're going to disincentivize investors like you and I, and ultimately it will run the project down. They have to be focusing on creating a developer-friendly environment, whether that's creating a very good infrastructure, whether that's also then saying, hey, we're going to put the carrot on the end of the stick, and you guys, you can get a great ecosystem funding round if you come on here, or funding round we can give you lots of money through grants. That's going to incentivize them, which is what we look for. Ideally both, right? Ideally a great framework and also incentive mechanisms, okay? Now, is there a developer actioning happening on the network? You can check this in 3 ways. Now, ideally all 3. Find the ecosystem map page or use DeFi Llama and find which projects are native to the ecosystem and which have been ported from external networks, aka code compiled. So it's different for a project to be exclusive on, let's just say, 𝗡cie𝗿𝗡𝗡 than it is for a project to be created on, let's just say, Ethereum and a whole heap of other networks, and then just get their code, and as long as Hedera is like whatever compatible, just compile it over, transfer the code over. Especially for EVM networks, because if the EVM networks, chances are they have really, really good Ethereum toolkits that make that the compiling, the transfer of the code very simple, minutes or even seconds, right? Just instant. So use the block explorer to find how many contracts have also been created on the daily. Now, a contract is a smart contract, right? But it doesn't mean it's the entire application. Most applications use at least 1 to 2 or 3 plus smart contracts. So a dApp doesn't just use 1 smart contract unless they're very, very, very simple, right? So we're looking for, between ideally 30 to 100 plus smart contracts a day. That's a really, really good sign. If it's 100 plus, that's great to see that they're growing. Ideally, we're looking for long-term trends though. If we can see the charts going up, that's great. Now go to developertools.com. This is some alpha for you guys, and locate how many full-time devs and monthly devs have been working on the project. Now this website's only active up until December of 2022. Ultimately, we're looking for mainly full-time devs here working on the project. Or ultimately, your monthly devs also can be contributed in terms of, devs building on the ecosystem as well. Or use GitHub. You can also check GitHub for how many contributors, are working on the code, okay? Now, this is key because, again, unless there is a valid reason developers should be building on the network, there are exclusive exceptions for this, like Casper Network, for example. They're focusing on enterprise adoption, very new network. There is some kinks still to be had, so there are certain circumstances, but the leeway only goes so far. There has to be a point in time when we go, enough's enough. What is happening here, right? So, and I want to say for the record, a lack of developers typically means the network isn't as good as what they're saying it is, because typically they'll say, well, with this and that, we got all this amazing stuff, but developers know the inside stuff. If that's not happening, it's for a reason, right? End users, ultimately, this is where utility will come from, right? So we've created the ecosystem, the nice city of useful applications, ideally, again, native. And so the end users come on, right? This is where you can assess the community channels for engagement and growth to see if the network is growing, right? There are so many ways you can do this. However, some of the lesser known ones are using LunaCrush, which is a social metric website. I use this every single day to check social engagement, social mentions, and social dominance. Just like market cap dominance, social dominance is very important as well. If this is picking up steam, if you can see a trend happening, that's fantastic, especially in the social dominance section, because that's against the whole entire market, right? Now check the daily transactions as well. Actual transactions, not like Solana where they post just transactions, which is communication between the nodes. We want actual transactions. Again, check the block explorer like I told you about before. And ensure the chart is growing. Again, we're looking for the chart growth. If it's trending downwards, it might be still going like high numbers, but if it's always been trending downwards since a certain point in time, that's not a good thing. Zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out, right? 3, check the total accounts are growing and active accounts are too on average. It's very important. The total accounts will always look pretty good, but the active versus the total accounts is very important. If that's decreasing, that's a warning sign because it means that people are using the network. If there's active accounts, they're using the ecosystem and chances are they're transacting on the account, right? On the platform rather. Number 3, this should be number 4. Whoopsie, I can't count apparently. Check Twitter followers and their engagement per post. Also check their Twitter post regularity. Once per day at least. They should be posting. So they could have 200,000 or 500,000 or 1 million followers, but if they're getting 10 likes and 1 retweet, what's that telling you? That's telling you that those followers mean diddly squat. It's the engagement that matters. Also, check the Telegram and Discord members versus the active count. That needs to be in a healthy range. If they have a million accounts or members in the chat, and they have 5,000 active, that's a very big discrepancy. Okay, it's all relative terms. And with that said, guys, I mean, this is going to be, again, available for my Patreon members. You guys can go through there, ask me any questions you like. If you did want a one-on-one session, I do have those available. Just DM me. Just DM me. And if you want me to help you build a portfolio, again, link is down below. Now, with that being said, everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope this video has been helpful, and I can't wait to talk to you all soon.